Hello everybody, my name is Gio. Recently a family member asked me to record myself playing Kerbal Space Program, so today we're finally going to do that. Let's get started. Okay, our mission for today is to get a Kerbal to the moon. To do that we're going to be using the MK1 command pod. We'll put a parachute on that. We'll put a heat shield on here. And this will be the stage that the part of the spacecraft that's going to be returning to Earth, or to Kerbin, sorry. Decoupler on here. We'll put a small fuel tank on there, and we'll put a small Terrier engine on there. This will be our landing stage. Our landing stage will require some landing legs, and we can set the number of, or the symmetry of the part right here. So we have it set to 3. That, and we'll put the legs on there like that. And we'll also need, see if we go to utility, we'll need some ladders, and we'll deactivate the symmetry. So then our Kerbal can climb down from the ladder. Now that we have our landing stage, let's build our interplanetary stage. We'll need a decoupler for that, put it right there. We'll grab a tank, which will be one of the slightly larger tank, put it like that. And we'll put the swivel engine at the bottom. This will be our interplanetary stage, and this will be our landing stage, and this will be the capsule up here will be the part that returns back to Kerbin. Now let's put our orbitals, or our stage that's going to bring the spacecraft into orbit. So we're going to put another decoupler right there. We're going to put a engine or a tank right there. Like that, and let's bring the whole thing up a little bit. I think we can zoom out. So this is this and one more tank is our ascent stage to bring everything into orbit. And we're going to be using the swivel engine again. Let's bring the whole thing up slightly more. So this is the whole length of the spacecraft. Unfortunately, this is not enough to get us into orbit, so we're going to be using some booster technology. Let's put a coupler, a radial coupler right there. And let's attach some tanks to this right here. And let's put another tank at the bottom. Let's put another engine on this one. And let's go to aerodynamics, and let's put a nose cone on the top. Boom. Now we have our booster, but we're going to be using 4 of them, so let's remove this and turn on radial symmetry and do 4 of them, and then we're going to put the engine like that. Looking good. So this will be our ascent stage. What we want to do is we want to feed fuel towards the center tank. And so to do that, we're going to be using a fuel pipe, or they call it external fuel duct. Take that, and we're going to turn off symmetry. And so the idea is that this tank feeds into this tank, and this tank feeds into that tank. Oops. There you go. That tank feeds into here, and then this tank feeds into there. And we want it to be symmetrical, so the other side is going to be fueling, this one will be fueling this one, and then this one will be fueling the center stage. Boom. Let's look at our staging on the side. Let's put all 5 engines to fire at the same time. So we're going to use this engine down below. And we have to make sure that the staging happens correctly. So we want to stage the outer tanks first. So that will be this one and that one. So let's look at the decouplers, and we can create another stage right here. And let's look at what looks like this is the one we want to move. So we're going to move that one over here. And then we also want to move this one right here. So let's look at which ones. Oh shoot, not that. That one. So let's select that one and move it over here. Cool. So now there's going to be the 5 engines are going to fire. These 2 decouplers are going to hit. Then those 2 decouplers are going to hit. And then that is going to decouple. That engine is going to fire. That stage is going to decouple, and then that engine is going to fire, and that stage is going to decouple, and then the parachute will be released. That is our moon rocket. Let's call it moon 1. And save. Okay, we're here at the launch pad and we're getting ready to launch. Let's turn on the control systems and we will launch in 3, 2, 1, fire, and we're on our way. You see Jebediah Kerman right here, enjoying the ride. I like to continue going up while gradually approaching a 45-degree angle as we approach 10,000 meters, or 10 kilometers. We're at 3,000 meters. As we approach 5,000 meters, I want to be at around 45 degrees. Oh my god, we just had an incident. Patch. Let's try that again. I think I know what went wrong. We need to make sure we're oriented in the right way. So let's turn on the control systems and launch in 3, 2, 1. I believe these two, the front and the back, are the first ones that are going to go. And because we're going to be oriented at an angle, we want to make sure that those boosters are out of the way. So we're going to rotate like that and fire those first like that. You'll see what I mean. We're going to start turning and so that's much better. Let's start turning to the 90-degree angle. Go. 90-degree angle. Let's go in that direction. We're at 12,000 meters and moving at 400 meters per second, so just over the speed of sound. And in order to avoid the same catastrophe we had earlier, we're going to rotate the ship back to this angle. And you can see that the whole thing is shaking because we don't have really good structural support on that. And actually, let's turn it this way. Yeah, let's go straight. You see that this is the direction we're heading, the ship is heading, and this is the direction we're pointing, which don't always co-align. Moving at 900 meters per second, and we're 27 kilometers above the surface. We're moving at 1 kilometer per second, and we're 32 kilometers above the surface. We're starting to heat up. We just lost fuel on these two engines, so we're going to use those and keep going up. Let's go prograde. We can switch to the global view and look at where our highest point is going to be. That's called the apoapsis at 70 kilometers. And what we can do is start orienting ourselves towards the horizon. So we're going to be at highest point of 80 kilometers, and we can see that the arc is starting to extend out, and the idea is to make the arc extend all the way around the planet. Still going. We're at orbital velocity is 2.2 kilometers per second. And so you know what we're going to do is we're going to shut off the engine, and we're just going to coast up to our highest point and then refire the engine at that point. That way we can be more efficient about turning our arc into an orbit. And to do that, we can fast forward to that location. We can see we're approaching the highest point, and right before we get there, let's stop. Actually, let's go a little closer. Get up to there, stop, and then turn ourselves prograde, which means point in the direction that we want to, that the ship is heading towards, and fire our engines. And fire engine until the orbit becomes, or the arc becomes a circle. And the other end of it should be appearing any second now. There it is. Our periapsis will be the lowest point, and we want to get that above the atmosphere. Boom. So, and there you go. That is our orbit. We're going to be orbiting at the highest point at 121 kilometers and the lowest point at 105 kilometers. All right, so now let's plan our trajectory to the moon. To do that, we need to figure out where the moon is. There's the moon. And so we want to extend the orbit of our spacecraft out to where it intersects with the moon's orbit. So what we can, to do that, we can set a maneuver node right here, add maneuver, and then extend it out to, or our proposed trajectory out to where the moon's going to be. But we know that the moon is moving, so it won't necessarily be here when we get there. So what we can do is burn a little later and see that there is an intersection at some point right here. There you go. We'll be approaching the moon at about 63 kilometers. That's good enough. And this burn, or this engine fire, is going to happen about 23 minutes from now, and it's going to last about 40 seconds from now. Or it's going to last 40 seconds according to the maneuver tool down below. So let's fast forward to that time. 21 minutes from now, so that means we go around the planet to get to our maneuver node. 2 minutes, 1 minute, okay. And now let's orient ourselves in the direction we want to fire in, and which is going to be prograde. And the firing is supposed to happen in about 20 seconds according to this, but the burn is going to last 40 seconds, so we might as well fire now. And as we fire, we're going to see our orbit, our apoapsis, the highest point above Kerbin, extend out to a higher orbit. We're about to run out of fuel on this ascent stage, so we're going to be jettisoning it. Move and fire the second engine, and fire interplanetary stage. The outer orbit is still increasing, or the apoapsis is still increasing. And we're approaching it, so let's start slowing down the engine, or lower the thrust on the engine. What's going to be our closest approach? 473 kilometers. Let's get closer. 373, 289, 200, 150, 72. Okay, 57. It's not quite 63, but I think this actually might be better. 57 kilometers above the surface. So let's turn off the maneuver node tool, and let's look at the orbit. And yeah, so we're going to leave here, go out to there, and the moon is going to continue on its orbit, and we're going to intersect it here at an altitude of 57 kilometers approximately. And so now we just coast. We can fast forward to that location. You can see our lonely spacecraft leaving the comfort of its home world as we approach its nearest neighbor, the moon. Now, as we approach the moon, we're going to switch orbital views. We're going to switch into how you would describe it as the influence of the moon. And now we can see where we're going to be relative to the moon's center of mass. And as we approach, we're going to be doing another burn. We're going to be slowing ourselves down so that then we get captured by the moon. And there it is. There's the moon. There's Kerbin, and there's the sun. And we don't really need to do a maneuver node, because all we want to do is slow ourselves down enough to be captured by the moon. And so to do that, we're going to be turning in a direction away from where we're heading, or otherwise known as retrograde. And now is a good time as I need to fire. Let's turn on the engine. And we can see our orbit decaying. And we are now captured by the moon. Let's make it a circular orbit. There we go. 57 kilometers by 55 kilometers. Not bad. I think we can do better. I think we can start getting closer. So let's fire a little bit longer and see how low we can get this. Let's bring it down to 20 kilometers above the surface. That should be good. And there it is. We can see that we're 57 kilometers above the surface, moving at 482 meters per second relative to the surface of the moon. we're going to go around dark side of the moon, and then we're gonna, and as we go around, we're gonna drop down to about 19 kilometers, and we're gonna do another burn here to bring this down to landing level, or bring this down to a landing. All right, let's go around the moon. Goodbye, Kerbin. Goodbye, sun. And I can watch the altitude right here at the top. We're at 30 kilometers, 29 kilometers, 24 kilometers, and 20 kilometers. This is as low as we're going to get. Maybe another kilometer or so. Okay, so now let's do our next burn. We're going to burn retrograde in order to slow ourselves down even further. Let's bring it down, fire. And we can see that the apoapsis is dropping, and the periapsis is dropping down to the surface. And it looks like we're going to intersect the surface at some point right here. And that's what we want. So let's switch over to this mode, to spacecraft mode. Let's go around. There's Kerbin rising, and we're going to see the sun rising in a second. There you go. As we get lower and lower to the surface, we're now at 10 kilometers above the surface. We're going to do a quick save just in case anything goes wrong. Keep coming down, keep coming down. We're at 8 kilometers. Yeah, let's keep going down. It looks like we're going to land somewhere around here. So let's fire up the engine and give ourselves another slowdown, down to about 300 meters per second. Let's come down even lower. We're now at 4 kilometers above the surface. Let's slow down some more. 200 meters per second. 100 meters per second. 70 meters per second. Let's jettison the stage. Fire our next engine. 43 kilometers per second. Let's open up the legs. Extend the legs. Keep firing the engine. Slow ourselves down. Whoops, a little bit too much. Let's shut off the engine. Let's turn. What I want to do is turn retrograde. There we go. Let's fire the engine a little bit. Let's keep firing the engine. Keep firing the engine. Keep firing and shut off. There we go. That is our landing on the moon. Not perfect, not super fuel efficient, but we are here. Let's do an EVA. Let's go outside the spaceship. Let's take Jebediah Kerbin out for a walk. And now we can climb down the ladder that we built for him. And we're on the surface. All right, let's put our flag down. Plant flag. Moon landing 1. There we go. Okay, so we've landed on the moon. Let's now we have to bring ourselves back to the Earth, or to Kerbin. Can I jump right here? F to grab. F to grab. There we go. And space, or B to board. And we're in. Let's bring this back. Let's do a control quick save to make sure we don't mess this up. And turn on control systems. And we're going to try to go 90 degrees with respect to the north. Let's fire up, and we're going to turn this way. And as soon as we're airborne, we can pretty much just start going horizontally. Since there's no atmosphere to climb out of, we can just start moving horizontally. Let's look at our trajectory. And we're just going to keep firing until we leave the influence of the moon. Just keep firing, keep firing. Keep firing. And stop. We're now on trajectory to leave the moon. And we're going to be put into an orbit around the Earth that looks like this. As we leave the moon, we can fast forward out of here. Let's leave the influence of the moon, and there you go. That's our orbit. Now, we seem to be in an orbit around the Earth that's elliptical, but it doesn't intersect with the Earth. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire retrograde, or in the opposite direction of where we're heading, in order to bring down the periapsis into the atmosphere of Kerbin. So let's turn retrograde. Turning retrograde, and we're going to fire and bring down the apopsis. And we're going to bring it into 10 kilometers above the surface of Kerbin, which is well within the atmosphere. Remember that Kerbin's atmosphere starts at 70 kilometers. 19 kilometers? That's good enough. 10 kilometers. Goodbye, moon. Where's Kerbin? There it is. I think, yep, there it is. And now let's head back home. Getting closer. Closer. Oh look, there's our our launch site right there. Are we going to land close to the launch site? I think we might. Yep, there's our launch. There's the Kerbal Space Center. We're 200 kilometers above the surface, passing over the launch site. 100 kilometers above the surface. And we've entered the atmosphere. We're 70 kilometers. Let's fire the engine one last time. Slow ourselves down. And we're out of fuel. Jettison that stage as the light's on fire. And now we need to keep the heat shield oriented towards our direction of motion so that it takes up all the energy and doesn't burn our spacecraft or our passenger. And you can see that our velocity is decreasing from 3 kilometers per second. We're 35 kilometers above the surface. It would have been nice to land right on the launch site, but we'll try again some other time. Two kilometers per second, 24 kilometers above the surface. Fifteen, 1.5 kilometers per second. 1 kilometer per second, 18 kilometers above the surface. Let's fast forward a little bit. 280 meters per second, 11 kilometers above the surface. 5 kilometers above the surface, 267 meters per second, and let's deploy the parachute. Hopefully this slows us down in time. We're about 1 kilometer above the surface, still moving at 200 meters per second, and slowing down. Nice. And splashdown. We're here. There you go. And that is it. We've taken Jebediah to the moon and brought him safely back to Kerbin. Thank you for watching.